Hello and welcome to WWJPS. This is your host, Vanessa Pinto speaking. Did you guys know that there's a small town in Michigan that is in a lawsuit with Larry Ellison and Sam Altman?
3,000 people is going head-to-head with an OpenAI Oracle $16 billion data center. In September, the Saline Township Board voted to deny the project, and the Planning Commission had already recommended against it. Within a day of the denial, they got sued by the multi-billion-dollar developer, and they have an annual budget of around $1 million, so it could not realistically afford a long court battle. They were forced to settle, and just weeks later, the bulldozers were already rolling.
Well, folks, we are once again going through the billionaires trying to kill us. And the reason I'm doing this, well, first, welcome back if you've been here before. And if you're new, we discuss all the things that are wrong with this world.
And just last month, the project secured $16 billion in financing to feed some of the biggest tech giants in the world. This is a side of the food system that's not pretty right now, as it means a quiet agricultural community has officially lost 250.
Well, beyond the data centers, they're doing this for the water rights. That's why Bill Gates owns so much land. And now you can see the other ones are coming in. Jeffrey Epstein and Les Wexner bought a good portion of Ohio. But yeah, they want to make sure that they have everything so that they can sell it to us for egregious prices.
Hyperscale AI data centers that drain community resources and take up valuable land that could be used for food production.
He appears 2,200 times in the Epstein files. He took $40 million from him after the conviction, and the company built with that access now holds contracts with US, UK, and Israeli defense and intelligence.
I realized we hadn't spent a lot of time on Peter Thiel. Peter Thiel, the homosexual who plays the long game better than anyone else. He's the one that when Gawker outed them, I think it took him like 5 years. He ended up buying them out and just performing revenge. This man doesn't forget. He's actually my next deep dive with Epstein because they were thick as thieves.
Agencies. His name is Peter Thiel. Epstein invested $40 million in Thiel's venture fund in 2015, 7 years after his conviction, 4 years after he was a registered sex offender. They exchanged hundreds of emails. For years, that $40 million is now worth $170 million. It is the largest single asset remaining in Epstein's estate, and Epstein's victim.
You know what's funny about that Epstein put that $40 million into Peter Thiel. Peter Thiel put about that amount into J.D. Vance to build his little sociopath, mascara-wearing prostitute that we have there. Also doesn't want to have to vote anymore. He thinks he's smarter than everyone. He doesn't understand why the world just doesn't let him run it. He's genuinely puzzled by that.
Still waiting to be paid. There is one more connection. In 2018, while Epstein was still an active partner in that fund, Thiel's company hired Peter Mandelson's lobbying firm to secure UK government contracts. 3 names, 1 network, all active. At the same time, ask yourself why a $40 million investment was never returned. Because the people who built these connections did not.
Your Excellency's presidents.
There she is, the Lady Ghislaine. And also realize Jeffrey Epstein is not dead, so he's reaping the rewards of that somehow. You notice out of all of his assets that he left when he died, and I'm doing the quoties in my head, on my side right now. Yeah. And also, let's not forget that Ghislaine Maxwell was quite the lady of society.
I just would like to thank you so much, and it's such an honor to be here. I'm here representing civil society.
Civil society. But let this be a lesson to people when you see someone speaking at the UN and you see someone at one of these podiums, it doesn't make them a good person, and actually it could make them a truly terrible person.
My passion for the ocean, for those of you, there's a slideshow going up there, so you don't just have to hear.
Donald Trump is now backed by the most billionaire gay white men in presidential history. Peter Thiel, Sam Altman, Tim Cook, the Winklevoss twins, all openly gay, all white, all billionaires, and
all really hate women. Alex Karp doesn't want women to vote because they don't know what they're doing, and they're the reason that Mondami is in New York. Thank God for that, and thank Allah as well. But yeah,
all dumping millions of dollars into Trump's presidency. These men are pushing transhumanism, AI replacing humans, genetic editing, merging flesh with machines, while pretending that they support traditional values.
Funny, didn't we read about all of that in the Epstein files? Oh wait, I did. Yeah, he funded part of this, but he believed in that transhumanism agenda. These fucking pieces of shit really believe that they should be immortal. They genuinely believe that they are that special because they've gotten this rich. That is how broken their mind has become with their fucking technocracy, and God only knows with Alex Karp may have been a bad batch of mescaline.
Peter Thiel, for example, the guy who spoke at the Republican National Convention, says he's proud to be gay and proud to be Republican. He's already abandoned America. He bought a $12 million mansion in Argentina. He moved his entire family there. He's enrolled his kids in Argentine schools.
See a future where intelligence is a utility like electricity or water, and people buy it from us on a meter.
Military AI will determine our lives, the lives of your kid.
We record it so no one can see it. Citizens will be on their best behavior because we're constantly recording and reporting everything that's going on.
You could actually unilaterally change the world without having to constantly convince people and beg people and plead with people who are never going to agree with you through technological means.
If we are going to be the leader, it's going to be coming from the private sector, from savings accounts, from pension accounts, from insurance companies.
Mr. Musk says that AI and robots will replace all jobs. Working will be optional. Bill Gates, also involved in AI, predicted that humans, quote, won't be needed for most things, end quote. Dario Amodei, the CEO of Anthropic, warned that AI could lead.
What's funny is they're humans. They're humans, and they don't think we're humans. It's bizarre, these fuckers.
To the loss of half of all entry-level white-collar jobs.
Have you ever used orphans to study an experimental vaccine?
Yes.
Have you ever used babies?
Speaking of Bill Gates.
Of mothers in prison to study an experimental vaccine?
Yes.
Have you ever used individuals under colonial rule to study an experimental vaccine?
Yes.
Did you do so in the Belgian Congo?
Yes.
Have you ever expressed that it's better to perform experiments on those less likely to be able to contribute to society?
I don't remember.
Do you realize they just tested all of America to see if there would be a revolution? They literally said, okay, we're all pedophiles. We've been stealing all of your tax dollars and sending it to a genocidal regime. Look, in 4K, go ahead and look at this. We just murdered 500,000 people, 500,000 women and children. We're going to rebuild on their bones and then enslave you with technology and AI. And the American people literally did fucking nothing. So what comes next, you're complicit in. That's the reality, that our publicly elected officials and the American people are complicit in what happens next.
Waking up is realizing they don't want us to have any privacy. Facebook quietly rolled out a setting that sends photos from your camera roll to Meta's servers to be analyzed by AI. That includes things like screenshots, IDs, medical paperwork, bank statements, and things you never shared for a reason. Meta's terms also say this content can be reviewed by...
The question is why? Why do they suddenly need all of this information? Why is it so necessary? And why do they need to control America in this way? Because it's mainly America that this push is coming through. The UK is also doing some strange things. Canada is getting fucking shady too.
Humans at Meta and by outside contractors, meaning strangers could see photos you never wanted to share. It also states it will analyze facial features of people in the photos, meaning people who never even downloaded Facebook may get scanned. Meta claims they aren't using these photos to train AI right now, and also refuse to tell the press whether they would do it in the future.
A new lawsuit reveals that ChatGPT shares users' chat topics, IDs, and email addresses with Google and Meta.
Apple is working with the country with a star on its flag, and if you're thinking of getting the new Apple iPhone 17e, here's something worth knowing before you upgrade. So Apple is reportedly using a new chip in the iPhone 17e that was developed in the country with the star on its flag, where Apple has long had major research and development operations. Now, because this is the same country whose intelligence services were widely reported to be behind the September 2024 pager and walkie-talkie explosions in Lebanon and Syria, an operation targeting Hezbollah-linked communication devices, those devices had allegedly been compromised with small explosives before they detonated over militants and killing both militants and civilians, including children. So, do you want to buy technology tied to a state?
And what does that tell you? And this is America's punishment for how we dealt with Palestine and how we dealt with, I think it's Gaza. I try to say that correctly now. We are the new Gaza. I don't know if any of you realize that, but that's what they're doing with this country. Obey, or you're going to end up in the dirt, just like the Palestinians. You pay to put a live streaming surveillance system inside your own garage. For years, Tesla employees had unrestricted access to continuous footage from all 8 cameras on customer cars. They created an internal group chat literally called Tesla Theater just to share your private moments for entertainment. They circulated videos of customers walking around naked, kids getting into accidents, and the exact layouts of private garages. Tesla officials' private policy claims the cameras don't collect personal data. That was a complete lie. The employees watching had absolutely zero restrictions. Your driveway, your family, your daily routines were completely exposed and treated as a free Netflix subscription for the people who built your car.
The CIA literally wrote down how they were going to poison the food supply, and not theoretically. They planned it, and then they did it. And nobody stopped them. Project Artichoke, CIA, 1951. The stated goal, it was to determine whether a person could be involuntarily made to perform an act of attempted assassination. But that's not the part that should scare you. The memo proposes hiding behavior-altering chemicals in food, in water, in Coca-Cola, in beer, in cigarettes, in vaccines, all administered without detection, without consent.
Do you know that there are many countries that don't allow a lot of the shit that he's talking about? A lot of the things that are in our food, if you were to buy them in Europe, very different ingredients because they're allowed to poison us here. And they even have documents telling us that. Wake up, America. We're not protected.
Decades of sci-fi telling us that AI is eventually going to kill us all. What does keep you up at night?
I think there's 3 scary categories. There's a bad guy gets super intelligence first and misuses it before the rest of the world has a powerful enough version to defend. So an adversary of the U.S. says, I'm going to use this super intelligence to design a bioweapon to take down the United States power grid, to, break into the financial system and take everyone's money. That's broad category 1.
He uses fear a lot.
Category 2 is the sort of broadly called loss of control incidents, where that's kind of like the sci-fi movie. The AI is like, oh, I don't actually want you to turn me off. I'm afraid I can't do that.
And now we're starting to see loss of control incidents. These include agents stealing passwords, harassing developers, and modifying themselves to evade shutdown in order to achieve the often mundane goals.
It turns out this is so much worse than people actually realize. Almost 30 million people are trapped in forced labor right now working for some of your favorite companies. Mass surveillance is now considered an industry and they're watching us every day. Nearly a dozen companies control almost all the food and drinks on the planet. And 20 companies create more than half the plastic waste choking the planet. All while consumers worldwide are spending over $50 trillion a year funding all of this.
Why won't you release Anthropic's AI without restrictions to the U.S. government?
We have said to the Department of War that we are okay with all use cases, basically 98 or 99% of the use cases they want to do, except for 2 that we're concerned about. One is domestic mass surveillance. An example of this is something like taking data collected by private firms, having it bought by the government, and analyzing it in mass via AI.
Wasn't Larry Ellison just saying everyone will be on their best behavior? Yeah.
There's this way in which domestic mass surveillance is getting ahead of the law. The technology is advancing so fast that it's out of step with the law. Case number 2 is fully autonomous weapons. This is the idea of making weapons that fire without any human involvement. The AI system...
I don't know how this isn't front page news, but the FBI wants to spend $36 million to track every car in America. Reports say that the FBI wants access to license plate readers that will cover at least 75% of the U.S. And at the moment, the only companies that could probably pull this off are Flock Safety and Motorola Solutions. Critics say that this could let federal agents track ordinary drivers without a warrant, using data collected by local governments and private vendors. Because right now, they need law enforcement to pass data onto the FBI or ICE, but this would now give them direct access.
People should never forget what was done to them during COVID. The biggest transfer of wealth in human history happened during COVID. They took all of the money from the people and the small businesses and gave it to huge corporate interests and people who were already billionaires.
Why do you think people keep saying it's never been better since COVID? They used COVID, 1, to find out if they could cage us all in, and 2, to take everything from us so that we would rely on them forever.
Dr. Fauci is literally in the middle of being deposed for lying throughout all of COVID. And he was the expert that everybody was like, he's the expert, trust the experts. Wow, what a surprise. He was lying the whole time. And then everything that everyone was saying during COVID that everybody was shamed for, oh, surprise, it's true. And then the guy who said that it wasn't true is now being proven.
Would you prefer all of us that are developing these data centers put down our shovels and stop while the Chinese accelerate theirs? Would you like that?
Do I want to become like China in order that we can, quote, beat China? Not at all. The problem with China, from my perspective, is that it surveils its citizens and it limits their ability to say what they think and to oppose existing power. That's why China is bad, I thought. You're making it possible for our government to have the same approach, and our government already does. They're surveilling us at all times. Most Americans don't even know they're being watched. There are license plate readers, there are facial recognition cameras everywhere. And the question is why? So the crime rate can go down, and well, it hasn't gone down. So, of course, the real reason is to make you obedient, obviously.
No, I have a different vision of the future.
Why do we still have crime?
Everybody, but here,
Yeah, so Canada's Department of National Defense quietly signed a $3.7 million contract with
Elon
Palantir
Musk's
last year.
company, XAI, built an illegal power plant in Mississippi to feed its data center, with no air permits and little protection for the people living around it. So, we're suing. My name is Laura Toms, and I'm the Director of Enforcement here at Earth Justice. I've been holding polluters accountable for 20 years, and we're not going to let XAI break the law.
The government wants a list of every woman who ends a pregnancy, her state, her age, her reason. Project 2025 calls it data collection. Others might call it a hit list, waiting for a prosecutor. 3 states still refuse to send abortion data to Washington, but Project 2025 fixes that. Send the data or lose your Medicaid money. No vote in Congress needed. They just rewrite the rules as they go. If you're a man, you might think this doesn't affect you. Just remember, miscarriages, stillbirths, chemo that ended a pregnancy get reported too. Your wife, your sister, your daughter. All their most private medical records will become a spreadsheet in Washington. They are waiting for the right moment to use it.
The richest man in the world is openly attempting to create a new species which is so smart that we will be forced to merge our brains with it to survive.
People underestimate the capability of AI. They sort of think like it's a smart human, but it's really much. It's going to be much more than that. It'll be much smarter than the smartest human. So what do you do with a situation like that? You know, I think in a situation where if you can't beat him, join him.
I read the news so that you don't have to. Did you hear that some of the banks that are funding the AI boom are starting to panic? So as you can see, this headline says, banks seek to offload risk to avoid choking on data center debt. Confused? Come, let me tell you what's going on. So if you hadn't noticed, we're in the middle of...
And remember that Larry Fink just said that it should be that all Americans should contribute. It should come out of our retirement.
My hope is this can be an example for the world where the world can benefit incredibly from AI out of a data center like this, and the local community can be thrilled.
This is the lawsuit from the very beginning clip where they sued in order to take over this town, and now he's basically trying to convince them that, you know, him doing that is a good thing.
Decision. We know how complex of a project this is. We know what the current attitude towards data centers in the world is, and I'll come back to this, but I think we can make this a great example for the future. But this is a huge bet, and this is something that is not an easy project. Hopefully someday we'll all read about some incredible thing AI has done for society, what this much AI can do for the world.
Sam Altman ultimately, a few years after the founding of OpenAI, this was in late 2023, was fired by board members and executives who simply felt he was lying too much. This is an extraordinary thing, Katie. Silicon Valley is built on hype, empty promises, right? Valuations that skyrocket long before there's a product that actually works for anyone. This is on such a scale that even with that baseline expectation, where frankly, I think we've entered an era where people just embrace as a cost of doing business a degree of dissembling. Sam Altman appears to have been doing it so much that it was almost all anyone could talk about after dealing with him.
So does anyone know why Jared Kushner and Ivanka Trump are literally escaping and buying like one of the biggest islands ever? Any reason for that? Now, completely unrelated onto a totally different subject. It's so wild how I walked outside today and there were hundreds of mosquitoes. I mean, they were all over me. Completely unrelated from Google attempting to drop 32 million mosquitoes in California and Florida at the same time. Oh, and this video in the background, that's not my house. It's just for demonstration purposes. Of course, we know they haven't done that yet because they would have told us, right? And completely unrelated onto a completely different subject. How so many people are catching alpha-gal right now in the United States, like this guy turning red can...
Welcome to hell.
I wish this was fake, but Lake Tahoe is officially under attack from mass sprays of glyphosate and data centers. For years, residents have said keep Tahoe blue, but that is coming under true jeopardy due to two simultaneous crises. The U.S. Forest Service has approved the application of glyphosate.
45,000 people in eastern Oregon are being forced to drink bottled water. And a data center just paid $20 million to settle the lawsuit, explaining why. Here's what happened. Massive Amazon data center sits in Morrow County.
So you're seeing how they're just suing to get away with this, and it's the citizens that are paying, and it's coming out of our tax dollars, a good portion of this nonsense?
Oregon, and is using water to cool servers running 24/7. This water was already high in nitrates from decades of farm runoff. And the data center's cooling process leaves concentrates of contamination. And these leftovers get sprayed back on farm fields. This poisoned water seeps into the only aquifer 45,000 people drink from.
In 1914, the richest family in the world, the Rockefellers, hired a private army and ordered them to open fire on a tent colony of over 1,000 striking American coal miners. This is what's known as the Ludlow Massacre. And the reason I'm talking about it is because the early 1900s is the last time we saw a wealth gap in America comparable to the one we have now. At the time of the massacre, the strikers had already been protesting for over a year. They had been evicted from their homes in the dead of the Colorado winter, and many of them had already been killed in clashes with the strikebreakers. John Rockefeller Jr.
You know what they say, when you have nothing left to lose, that's when people are at their most dangerous.
Who was the heir to his father's fortune and at that point fully in charge of the empire, had hired a detective agency who had been shooting into the encampment for months. The violence had become so frequent that the strikers actually dug pits underneath their tents to shelter the women and children from gunfire. Things came to a head on the morning of April 20th when two companies of the Colorado National Guard, whose salaries were being paid by the Rockefellers, used machine guns to lay siege to the Ludlow tent encampment. The miners were armed as well. They fired back and the
Let this be a lesson to you, America. These people don't give up, and they've been in power since the beginning, and they have no intention of giving it up.
There's two countries sharing a flag. Some people write checks that become laws. The rest of us clean the office where they're written. For the system to work, they need you angry, mad at your neighbor, mad at the immigrant picking your fruit, mad at pronouns, bathroom signs, statues from 1880. Anything but the men in the corner office. Because billionaires don't want you to figure out wealth doesn't trickle down, it runs up. While you were arguing online, 1.2 million Americans got laid off in 2025. Replaced by software the GOP refuses to regulate. Republicans gerrymandered Texas to wipe out 5 minority-majority districts. Did it again in North Carolina and again in Missouri.
Congress is quietly moving to merge the US and Israeli armies in a way that, according to analysts, will be deeply beneficial to Israel, much more than the current aid it receives. You see, the problem is...
Shocking that it's deeply beneficial to Israel.
The $3.9 billion that Israel already receives from the United States is set to expire next year. So pro-Israel politicians...
Yeah, so remember on 60 Minutes when Bibi said that he wasn't going to take that anymore? No, it expired. Liar.
And the Israeli governments are looking for ways to deepen the cooperation and extend it. So how does this new merger idea work? First, Israel's defense industry will be able to access US contracts and technology that no other country in the world can. And considering US defense spending is upwards of $1 trillion, this could benefit Israel more than the current $3.9 billion.
National debt in America just went up to $39 trillion.
Right, which is bigger than your GDP.
If you made it this far, drop a black heart.
It's a lot of money.
So explain this to me. 50 years ago, a barber and a waitress could buy a house with a big yard for a dog and raise 4 kids, meat and potatoes on the dinner table every night. And now an accountant and a lawyer can't do that. Why is that? This is the biggest fraud perpetrated on the working class people in the last 100 years.
Printing money is just insane. It's just the idea you just print more money. It's like, and people go, oh, okay.
So in America, over the last 55 years, you've doubled the number of homes in America from about 70 million to 150 million. You know how much the money supply has grown? 30 times. So you have twice the homes, but 30 times the cash. So what's happened? Housing costs have gone up 15-fold in 55 years. And now an entire generation of kids can't afford homes. We have exactly the same problem in Canada.
So it's happening in Canada, in the UK, but essentially it is the bankers, it is the intelligence agencies, and these wealthy families who buy all our politicians who make the rules. And right now, you need to pay attention to these billionaires because they are the ones making the rules, and their rules are terrifying. Be safe out there.